Welcome to the Explainer. With all the advice out there about healthy eating, it can get, well, pretty confusing, right? So today, we're going to cut right through all that noise. We're breaking down the science of nutrition into simple, practical steps you can actually start using today. So let's just dive right in. What does healthy eating actually mean? Before we can even think about building a better menu, we've got to understand what our food is really made of. It all starts with the basic building blocks. Here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll get the definition straight. Then, we'll get super practical with designing your own meals. After that, we'll look at the surprising ways cooking actually changes your food, pit traditional meals against fast food, and finally, we'll talk about how to pass all this great knowledge on. Okay, let's start at square one. What are we even talking about when we use words like healthy eating and nutrition? Okay, so every single thing you eat is made up of these things called nutrients. They're the essential substances our bodies need for energy, for growth, for everything really. And they're basically split into two big groups. The organic stuff, like carbs and proteins, and the inorganic stuff, like minerals and water. But here's the thing. It's not enough to just get these nutrients in your body. The real magic happens with balance. You need the right amount and the right quality of each one. That's why you always see it as a pyramid, right? The stuff at the bottom is what you need the most of, and it tapers up from there. I love this analogy. It just makes so much sense. Think of your body as a high-performance car. You wouldn't just throw any old fuel in the tank and expect it to win a race, would you? Nope. It needs that perfect, precise mix of everything to perform at its absolute best. And this brings us to a really key idea. Healthy food isn't just about what it has in it, all those great nutrients and energy. It's also about what it doesn't have. We're talking about being free from harmful chemicals or other nasty stuff. All right, theory is great, but let's get practical. How do we turn all this information into an actual blueprint for what we eat every day? How do you get that balanced nutrition idea from your head onto your plate? Well, you can basically think of it as a simple 4-point checklist. First, is it adequate for you, based on your age and how active you are? Is it diverse with a good mix of different foods? Is it suitable for your family and, let's be real, your budget? And finally, are you eating with a consistent frequency? That last point on frequency, it's a total game changer, especially when it comes to kids. The ideal is 5 times a day, 3 main meals and 2 snacks in between. This is what keeps their energy and blood sugar stable, which is absolutely crucial for their focus, their mood, and their growth. Now for something we don't always think about. What happens in that time between buying all those healthy ingredients and actually putting them on the plate? The way we cook has a huge and kind of hidden impact on our food. Check this out. Cooking is this fascinating trade-off. See, a little bit of heat is great. It helps break down proteins and carbs, which actually makes them easier for us to digest. But too much heat can do the exact opposite. It can wreck proteins and completely destroy fragile vitamins like B1 and C. It's a real balancing act in the kitchen. And here is a perfect real-world example of that. When you boil your vegetables, a lot of those wonderful water-soluble vitamins just seep out into the water, and then we pour that water right down the drain. But if you steam them instead, all that good stuff stays locked right inside the food. It's such a simple switch, but it makes a huge difference. And it doesn't stop with just cooking. How we store and preserve our food is just as important. Vegetables that sit in the fridge for too long start to lose their nutrients. Bad canning can literally grow dangerous bacteria. And of course, processed foods loaded with synthetic additives can bring their own set of health problems. So, with all that in our back pocket, let's talk about a choice we all face, probably more often than we'd like to admit. A traditional, home-cooked meal versus grabbing some fast food. When you put them side by side like this, the difference is just wow. It's night and day. On one side, you've got traditional foods made from fresh, whole ingredients. And on the other, fast food, which is basically engineered to be packed with calories, unhealthy fats, and sugar, while being almost empty of the good stuff like fiber and vitamins. And look, this daily choice has some really serious long-term consequences. The convenience of fast food often comes at a very high price, with well-documented links to major health problems like obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. All right, let's wrap this up with what might be the most important piece of the puzzle. How do we pass this knowledge on? How do we teach the next generation to make smart, healthy choices for themselves? Well, the best way to do it isn't to just lecture them. It's something called the exploratory approach. It's all about making nutrition a hands-on adventure.
empowering kids to connect the dots between what they're learning and what's actually on their own dinner plate.
And you don't have to be a professional teacher to do this. Here's a fantastic, super simple activity. You can use picture cards of different foods to introduce nutrients. You list out the main nutrient groups, and then, the best part, you have the kids keep a little dinner diary to find those very same nutrients in their own meals. It makes it personal, it makes it real.
Because really, at the end of the day, understanding nutrition is about empowerment. It gives you the tools to take better care of yourself, and it gives you the language to explain why a carrot is a better choice than a cookie. So my question for you is, what's one simple food choice you can explain to a kid, or hey, even just to yourself, this week?